Hello fellow humans and welcome back to Shitcoin Fundamentals. Some of you may have already seen it. I started a new series in which I discuss the application, use cases, utility of cryptocurrencies. And today I want to talk about utility, application and use cases of Jasmy, of course. I think I will make a general series also about IoT applications, but today I want to talk about Jasmy in particular. I think it's super important that we discuss utility of cryptocurrencies because it actually is what makes the value, the underlying value of the currency that you buy, of the coins that you buy. So discussing that means discussing the value of the currency. So, of course, we have to start also with a disclaimer. This is not financial advice. Please do always your own research before you invest in anything. To help you with your research, I leave all of the links that I used to make this video, all of the sources down in the description below. So check them out and use them for your research. I will cut the video in two parts. First of all, I will talk in general about the use cases of Jasmy, about the applications, and then I will talk about why classical methods cannot solve this problem and why it's a problem worth solving. So let's get on. In the first part of the video, we want to discuss the applications of Jasmy. In my opinion, there are two distinct applications. And in the second part of the video, we will actually discuss why the problem that Jasmy is solving is worth solving and why it can't be solved with more classical, already existing methods. So first of all, if you want to look at the applications of Jasmy, you can already look into the white paper because Jasmy is built in two layers. There's first the secure knowledge communicator, SKC, and then there's a smart guardian, SG. It's basically two layers of the Jasmy protocol where the SKC is used for utilizing personal data, for storing and utilizing personal data, having in mind privacy concerns of the individual that this data is taken from. This is the first layer. The second layer, the smart guardian, actually then allows the person, the owner of the data, or the person who generated that data with their devices that they own or with the behavior that they have, which is then stored into their phone, for example, to basically take control of the data, utilize this data, decide who can have this data and who not. So this is two distinct applications. Where most of the applications that I see currently in the market, for example, this notebook done together with Vario, which is a very, very good application. I think it's more on the SKC side, where the other applications that will come in the future will be more towards the end user. So owners of smart devices, of smartwatches, of telephones, of home devices, many other things, cameras, sensors, whatever. There will be, of course, also companies who own that, but I mean, this will be a more B2C-ish application, whereas the SKC is a more B2B-ish, so business-to-business application, where you have like an ecosystem within the company, as we see, for example, with the Transcosmos use case, where they deploy these laptops to their call center workers that work with these laptops, and basically the data exchange between the laptops and some kind of centralized entity which analyzes the data, which communicates with the workers, is done through that Jasmy protocol. It's a very good application because you have this very often that you have, especially now after COVID, a lot of companies moved into home office. So you have the question, okay, you want to have your devices, which your employees are using at home, you want to have somehow part of your company network. However, as this device is home, there's also like a gray area between privacy of your employees and security of your system and control over your workforce, right? So you want to know what they're doing and what they're working. You want to be able to help them, to support them with information about the cases they're working on, for example. But what you don't want, of course, is want to sneak on the private life on your employees. At least it's by law, it's forbidden. So you want to make sure that nobody in the company can actually do that, that you don't run into some kind of legal issues along the way. So this why is this SKC so important, because it allows exactly companies that they can protect the privacy of their employees, but still being able to communicate with them, having some control over the work they're doing, looking on what they're currently working, how far they are in the process, maybe matching it up with other employees that work on the same project or a similar project. Right? So this is what they actually can do with the SKC already, and this is what we see currently are the most use cases of Jasmy, because it's very B2B use case. It's much easier to implement that because the data will basically stay within one organization. So you basically integrate the Jasmy protocol within this organization, and then you have like an island of a solution island basically within this organization, which is much easier to control for Jasmy, especially in the early stages of the technology, when you don't really want to open up to too many players, because that makes things much more complicated. So these are, let's say, the easier use cases in the beginning, especially because you can control it better, but they also have commercial value because it solves an actual problem of these companies. So the second issue is then, of course, this is what we not yet see too much in Jasmy. Maybe the laptop that they developed together with Vayu is already touching a little bit into this direction. However, it's not really yet that use case. The second use case is, of course, IoT, like real IoT, where you have devices that somebody owns, a company or a private person owns, that generates data, and that the owner of the device wants to have some control over, wants to potentially sell that data to somebody else, right? Currently, we're using telephones, we're using laptops, smartwatches, IoT devices. They generate a lot of data. Often that data is taken without our knowledge or without our necessarily full agreement by the company, and is sold on without us having any value of that, right? So in the case of the Smart Guardian with Jasmine, what you can do, you will own actually all the data that is generated by devices owned by you. That means you can also decide who gets this data, and if they have maybe to pay for it, right? You can decide like, okay, I don't want that my private information is leaked. There's information that I don't want to give out at all because I consider it very private and I don't want to share it with anyone. But there's other information which I'm ready to share. However, if I do so, I want to have value back for it. And I think this is a very reasonable approach to this. And this is exactly what the Smart Guardian is solving. The problem here is why this is not yet so deeply implemented is because you have to open the system. There will be a lot of different players. It will be not limited to one organization. It will be an open system. Everybody can connect. So there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of difficulties. So this is basically a system that will take longer to implement because it has to be more stable, and they have to first learn out of the projects they have with the companies. So I think the Smart Guardian and this IoT application will take maybe another 2 years to be really implemented, because it will also require likely that Jasmy will move on from Ethereum to be an Ethereum token to their own blockchain application. In my opinion, they're already doing that, but that will still need time, because when you have a lot of small data amounts, which private users will have, gas fees on Ethereum will be just impossible to do that. So they will have to move on for this. For the business case, it's still fine that they're an Ethereum token. They can still experiment with that. For the real application with big user count, with international users, private users, company users, which all interact, they will likely need their own blockchain, and they will also need more stable system. So in the second part of the video now, we want to actually discuss why these are problems we're solving. I mean, we went already a little bit into this in the first part of the video, but more importantly, why they're solving a problem that can't be solved with classical methods, or that is solved with classical methods that's not so good, not so beneficial for all the players in the game. I would again cut it between the secure knowledge communicator and between the smart guardian, as they're two, as I said before, two distinct applications. There's overlap between these two, but I would see them as two distinct applications of Jasmine. So let's start with the secure knowledge communicator. What is the problem they're solving, and why it is worth solving, and why there is no other solution or not a good solution to solve that classically. So the problem they're solving we discussed already. Basically, there is regulation, especially now in Japan. There's a very tough privacy regulation also towards your employees. That means you have to be careful not to dig too deep into private data of your employees, of your customers, so on, because otherwise you open yourself to some legal issues, right? You might be sued, you might end up with a lot of different problems there. So companies have to be very careful what data they take, how they take it, where they store it, make sure that nobody can look into the data and get some kind of personal information out of it. Classically, this would be, of course, solved by having some kind of database provider that offers a database, so all of the data that is taken is stored there. There is a VPN to that database from the private home if they're in home office, and the data is stored there. And then basically there's an admin who has access to the database, and you see already there is a problem. There is people who have access to the database, can take the data and utilize it. And on the other side, you also have to trust the database provider. So the company or your integration, or the people in your company that take part on this, you have to trust them that they're not utilizing the data because it's there. It's unencrypted. I mean, maybe the database is encrypted, but if you have the password, you're in, right? Whereas in the case of Jasmy, there is a very distinct information that is communicated, and only this information. So they select already out, they basically filter the information, what is actually interesting and what can be looked at and what can't be and shouldn't be looked at. So by having this distinction already during the data collection, you solve the issue of having a big database with all of the information, and somebody can actually go in there and find out private information about the customers or about the employees. This is the problem that you solve with this. And you see already why that can't be solved, as I said before, because there is an entity that you have to basically trust, which leaves some risk for legal litigation, whatever, right? So this application is, of course, worth solving because it's a huge application, especially after COVID, where a lot of employees went into home office, and that was actually a huge problem that has to be solved. It took months for some companies to move into home office because exactly of that issues. Secure connection. So you had like a lot of PCs connecting over VPNs to a server. Then the internet connection at the company was not enough. The server capacity was not enough. There were not enough laptops around for all the employees because some of them had PCs at the company. So they had to buy laptops, so on, so on, so on. A lot of problems. However, when you have a company where this Jasmine system is already implemented, it makes it much easier. Everybody has their laptop, it's connected to the Jasmine system, no matter where they work, if they're in the office, at home, traveling, or whatever, it's always clear where the information is, what information is shared, and how it gets from A to B. And this is the huge benefit there that is currently in most companies unsolved. Okay, this is about the secure knowledge communicator. Let's talk about the smart guardian. This is actually, I think, the much larger application because now you tap in not just the B2B market, so basically the business market where you have a business solution, but you also tap into the general public, right? It's a more B2C-ish approach because all of us have IoT devices. I mean, we're talking always about IoT. Actually, the biggest IoT device currently around is smartphones. I mean, I'm recording this currently on smartphones, that's why I'm showing on this. This is the biggest IoT device that is currently around. So, what problem do they solve? We talked already about this. It's basically ownership of data, which I think is a huge topic, especially in Web 3.0. It's the biggest topic, right? We all know that companies like Facebook or Meta or however they call themselves now is stealing huge amounts of data from you and is utilizing them and making tons of money from it. And then there's a question like, what data am I actually feeling comfortable to share? And if I share it, what do I get in return? Of course, in case of Facebook, I can use Facebook for free, but is it really the value I get back for that, right? They're making billions and billions, and I have access to a free network of my friends, which I have also basically in WhatsApp. So the question is like, what is the value and do I really get my money worth of what I give? And this is exactly the problem that it solves. I will have, with a smart guardian, I will have full control over my data. What do I want to share, what I don't want to share, and how I get the most out of the data, which also will lead to a market of data, right? There will be companies which will compete. They want to have your data. They maybe want to have it exclusively. They will offer higher prices because your data is maybe more valuable to them than others. And you will have full control over this and will be able to sell your data or buy data from others if you want to build an application upon that. I think this is a huge use case. And here, the difference is that in the case of SKC about the business to business, there is already like a working solution available. Just Jasmine is better because it's easier to use and because it solves some litigation problems. However, in the case of the Smart Guardian, there's currently nothing around which could do that. You cannot sell, I mean, you can go on how it is and sell, basically generate your data and let big companies sell that. However, if you want to gain control over the data, there's basically no solution out there because it's just a huge network. There's a lot of data around. Who makes clear who owns what? Who makes sure that nobody else can access the data when it's out there, right? Our phones are connected to the internet. The data that we're generating is out there. So it's free for anybody to do something with it. How do you basically control that? And that control can only be gained through a security system like blockchain. Because now you can log in which data belongs to whom and who has rights to use it, who has no right to use it, what is completely locked up, what is open for some applications. You can choose also the level. Are you feeling comfortable to share it on a personalized level? So basically knowing who you are and sharing that part of your data? Or has it to be like you want to share your data, but it has to be unpersonalized, so anonymous, so that basically your data is putting into a pool and mixed up with other data, and you have a big data set and nobody can actually find out who you are out of that data. Maybe, and who sets these rules? This would be completely impossible on an individual level to set exactly the rules that you personally feel comfortable about. And there, really, blockchain is the only solution on the market. And that makes actually the Smart Guardian, in my opinion, the much more interesting solution than what Jasmy is currently doing. As I said before, there are technologically restrictions why they're doing that and not the Smart Guardian already, but I really hope that soon there will be the first applications of the Smart Guardian, including IoT devices like smartwatches, like mobile phones, home IoT devices, whatever. I'm really looking forward to this because, in my opinion, this will be the real use case and the real application of Jasmine. So, became a very long video. I wanted to actually keep it shorter, but yeah, I think it's a very important topic, and I hope you enjoyed the video so far. Please leave a like if you did. Consider subscribing to the channel. I did also ask on my other videos, I really want to grow this channel. I have a lot of things planned, but I need your help. So if you can, I would be very, very happy if you could donate some of your Jasmine or whatever other cryptocurrency you can spare. Find the links to my wallets down below. It really helps a ton to grow this channel and make more and better content in the future. Join also my social media platforms. You find the links also down below in the description. And see you next time. Bye.